guys, I got my mic, so I think we're all set. I haven't done one of these videos in a long time. Lots have been going on in life in general. Husband and I moved. We're kind of in like a temporary transition period. Not where we're going to be like officially, but hopefully in the new year. I keep looking to this side, but my camera's over there, so sorry if I keep looking the wrong way. And then, as I announced the day after Thanksgiving, I'm pregnant. So I've kind of been MIA, mainly because I felt like I couldn't really express myself on social media and through my blog like I normally would be able to, just because so many things have changed in my body and things aren't the same. So it's just kind of been like in hiding almost, which has stunk because I love being active on my blog and sharing things with you guys. But I'm super excited that you guys now know, and I can kind of share this journey with you guys. So I'm 14 weeks pregnant today. Went for my 14-week ultrasound. I see an OBGYN down in Franklin, Tennessee. She's not necessarily like a functional medicine OBGYN, but that's what I researched to find her. She definitely has more of like a holistic, whole body, whole person approach. She doesn't push things on you. She also works like side by side with a functional medicine doctor. She's very open, and I'm pretty sure pretty knowledgeable of Lyme. I mean, as much as you can be as an OBGYN. The functional medicine doctor she works with is definitely knowledgeable with Lyme and such. So she's awesome. I love her. I started working with her, I'm not sure how long ago, at least a year ago, or maybe at the beginning of the year, I should say. I started working with her just because I wanted to kind of rule out if there was any like anatomical reasons why I could not conceive. Because if any of you don't know, I just saw a snowflake. That's sad. I mean, it's happy, but it's still sad. Anyway, so for those of you who don't know, dealing with chronic Lyme and just all the damage that it did to pretty much every organ in my body, just the odds of me getting pregnant were very, very low, just from that standpoint. It also caused a lot of endocrine damage and disruption that up until getting pregnant I pretty much dealt with. Hyperthyroid, then hypothyroid. Lost my period even before the diagnosis. Struggled to get it back with bioidentical hormones. My OBGYN was actually the one that took me off those bioidentical hormones. She said they were not the right form for getting pregnant. And they actually they started doing more harm than good, which I was catching on to. But they were just causing some serious imbalances. And then just everything together. If you were to ask a normal doctor, which I've seen these normal doctors and the normal OBGYNs, they pretty much would be like, you probably can't get pregnant, like your odds are very low, like, you know, and they kind of like wanted to diagnose me with all these different things like PCOS and endometriosis and all these different things, and I knew that that wasn't the case. I knew that I did not have those issues, but at the same time, I knew that my odds were stacked up against me because of Lyme, and just having a present infection or even past infections, just the trauma, again, that my body's been through. Doctors didn't really know if I could get pregnant or not. So for a while, for years, I've been like researching stuff, tracking my period with basal body temping, trying to figure out if I ovulate, which from what from following my body, that was probably the biggest issue, is that I didn't ovulate, even if I got my period. And I know that sounds contradictory because if you get your period, you're supposed to ovulate, but and just different things like that. So the fact that there's a little guy in me right now that's like totally healthy and happy, it's pretty amazing. So a lot of people, when I announced that I was pregnant, you know, a lot of people that responded to it come from an autoimmune background or an infertility background or just a Lyme background. And I know there's a lot of hype around getting pregnant with Lyme disease, and if you can give Lyme to your baby and all that stuff. I just want to like put out there. I was never one to really, like, yeah, I'm aware of those complications and stuff, but I've never focused on it because I've wanted kids since I was little, and especially after meeting my husband, I really wanted kids. So I take all that information with a grain of salt, and I'm aware, but it's definitely not something I've ever really researched because I don't want to stress over it. And I've always kind of remained certain, even though everyone is like, "No, you probably won't get pregnant." I'm like, just, trusting God. And that took a while, even though I never got a direct, like, infertility diagnosis. I struggled a lot with just, like, the depression of, like, not knowing if I could conceive or not, but at the same time knowing that I have all these issues and people telling me that I can't and won't be able to. It sounds silly, but it really is a big struggle that I don't think most people talk about. It affected me a lot emotionally and mentally, and that's something I really had to struggle through and just surrender, because having that stress, like, that stress alone will lessen your chances of getting pregnant, just because stress is not good for that kind of thing. So I will definitely make more videos in the future regarding that, because I think it's something that needs to be talked about more, just the struggle with infertility as a woman. And then we'll definitely talk more about, like, what I was doing around the time that I got pregnant, what I think supported my body. But this video, I just kind of wanted to, like, recap the past 3+ months because they've been kind of crazy and all over the place, and I wanted to get you guys up to date. Let's see, when I first got pregnant, like I said earlier, I've done basal body temping for a while, so I was following my period and I was like, okay, I'm supposed to be on track to, like, get my period, whatever. And then it came up to that weekend, didn't get it, and I was trying to be patient and wait because my temps were still really high, and, like, if you have a high temp for a certain amount of days, then that kind of indicates that you're pregnant. So I was just like, I'm just gonna wait. Like, tests are expensive, I don't want to get my hopes up. So I just kind of went along with it. But, like, even a week or so before that, I would say, like, almost right after when I was supposed to ovulate, I started getting symptoms. And I don't know if it's because I was so in tune with my body and so in check with my body that I noticed these things, or if they really were that pronounced. But my hunger skyrocketed, like, through the roof. I actually had this thought. I was walking down the stairs and I was starving, and I was like, you know what? And it's so weird because intermittent fasting works great for me. And it used to work great for me. But I just thought, like, you know what? If I want to get pregnant, I should probably stop intermittent fasting, which is, like, such a weird thought for me to have, but it was there. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to stop intermittent fasting, because I had been, like, battling, like, I am so hungry, but no, I need to make it till, like, noon because I'm intermittent fasting. I just couldn't do it anymore. So intermittent fasting, check that off. I was like, sorry, I can't do it anymore. Even my husband was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I can't do it anymore. Like, I just can't do it anymore. I'm too hungry. I need to eat, like, every 4 hours. Like, something's wrong with me. Like, I don't know what's happening. That was the first thing, like, major thing that happened, aside from, like, my boobs killing me. But we'll get into that a different time. So that happened. And then the extreme exhaustion hit. And, like, I struggled in my workouts. I was skipping workouts, and then it just came to the point where I tried to get through a workout and hardly could, and I was like, you know what, I'm done. Couldn't do it. I just felt like my energy was going elsewhere. Obviously now I know where it was going, but, like, I couldn't do it. I was like, done. And that's very odd for me as well, because if any of you know my love for fitness and exercise, you know that just, like, giving it up like that is not something that I would normally do in my right mind. But I was just like, I'm done. I can't do it anymore. And I haven't worked out since. I'll write more about that, because I try and walk as much as I can. For a while I was doing the rower and the bike, but, like, even that was getting to be too much. Like, if I pushed myself too much on it, I could feel it. It's almost like I would get a fever, but not. Like, it's just my body was like, you're overworking me, like, I need to focus on something else. So, aka the baby. So yeah, I haven't worked out since then. And then another thing I struggled with was, first I got hungry, and then I started getting the severe morning sickness, and the morning sickness was like all day sickness, accompanied by the dizziness and all that, like brain fog, like can't think straight, can't walk straight, dropping things, clumsy, want to puke, almost puke, like can't stand the smell of certain things, especially meat. Keto totally made me want to puke all the time, just like eating keto, cooking, anything that smelled while I was cooking, like, and that's terrible because I cook all my food to eat. I can't really meal prep still because of histamine issues. And so it was just, I struggled for a really long time. Probably for like 2.5 months, I struggled because all I wanted was gluten-free white bread, but I knew that my body didn't like that. But the thought of eating what I knew my body really needed just made me want to puke. So that was like a whole battle I had. And yeah, I did have gluten-free bread and rice and plenty of carbs, but in the end, they just made me feel worse. Like my body still does not handle carbs like that on a daily basis well at all. So finally was able to let that go. I finally got an anti-nausea pill from my OBGYN, and that kind of helped me turn the corner to going back to keto. And that's what I do now. I feel so much better, even days that I feel like I'm gonna puke and I still get random morning sickness. I know that sticking with my keto, ultimately I'm gonna feel better, and in the end I usually have less nausea if I stick to my keto or otherwise pretty low carb paleo. So I think it kind of goes, well, I don't know if I want to dive into that. I don't really want to dive into what exactly I was doing around the time that I got pregnant. I think that's for a different video and a different post because I don't want to make this video too long. But yeah, as I said earlier, I'm 14 weeks now, so I'm just into my second trimester. Everything has been good as far as like pregnancy wise, besides the terrible morning sickness and the increased fatigue. And it's not even so much because like I've dealt with fatigue ever since before I got my diagnosis with Lyme. So the chronic fatigue and exhaustion, like I've dealt with that. It's not the same. It's more of like I'm walking up a hill and oh my gosh, like I'm huffing and puffing, which you could say is because I'm out of shape now. But even like a day after I stopped working out, like I worked out consistently until a certain time, and even then, like when I was still in shape, things like that, like things like walking through a parking garage and walking up and down the stairs would wear me out. So it's just little things like that. That's the kind of fatigue I would describe it as. I don't walk as fast anymore. I used to be a fast walker, just things like that. You know, I've definitely, you know, I'm still super busy with school and I work part-time. But I've definitely kind of, when it comes to physical activity and just like really listening to my body, I've just really obviously let working out go and just focus on movement. I still like to roll out and stretch because that's really important, especially with like my hips and my pelvis changing and stuff like that. It definitely helps because I get really tight. Took a break from the chiropractor just because we were moving and all this transition, but today I plan on going back to my old chiropractor, and I really want to go to see him like once a month because I think it's really important. I don't want to have to take things like Tylenol. I never did in the first place, and now I really don't want to. And sadly, I've kind of been forced into it not going to the chiropractor because of like pinched nerves and stuff. So trying to stay on that. As far as Lyme symptoms go, yeah, let's talk about Lyme symptoms real quick. So I've always tried to make these videos short and they're never short. So I'm sorry, I just have like too much to say and too much to catch you guys up on. But I know a lot of you are interested of how I'm like balancing Lyme with pregnancy, and this will definitely come, I'll talk about more of this in like the video or post about what I was doing when I got pregnant, like how I was supporting my body, and why I think maybe it helped, but just everyday life. So I'm still on treatment for my Bartonella, or for the Bartonella. I still take, it's a homeopathic treatment. I just feel better on it. I can definitely tell like this past weekend was a full moon. Some full moons don't affect me, some do. This full moon, I definitely could tell my lymph nodes in the back of my neck were more swollen. I was dealing with more joint pain and shin pain, and foot pain, and just overall like headache. My interstitial cystitis, so my bladder condition that the Bartonella has caused, has been more at bay, I would say. I mean, I still avoid triggers, but even if I have some triggers, it hasn't been as bad, which to me is a really good sign that I'm really still targeting that Bartonella. But yeah, I still do my homeopathic once a week, unless I need it more, unless I think I need it more and the symptoms are bothering me. I still get my colonics once a week. I get those, so I've talked about it before, but those really help me with detoxing, especially after I take my Bartonella dose to just get all the crap out of me, like literally and figuratively. I still do those. They help a lot. They help clear out die-off symptoms too, that might build up just within a day of taking my dosage, because I like to take my dose Sunday and like I'll get my colonic Monday or whatever. Still doing those, and of course they help because along with pregnancy comes lovely bowel changes. So when I first was pregnant, I actually had better bowel movements, probably just because of all the flux of hormones. Now I go through different periods where I'm like super constipated and like nothing's moving. Like the progesterone is like, nope, your bowels are not going to move today. And then with school, that kind of jacks things up too. It's all over the place, but colonics help a lot with that because I know I can rely on them helping me kind of clear out all those toxins. And then I take my regular supplements. I take a prenatal gummy vitamin. It's just like the Smarty Pants. You know, I looked into some ones that were definitely more like fancy and like, you know, I don't know what the word would be to call them besides fancy. I think y'all know what I mean, like a really good supplement brand. But I was like, you know what? I already take vitamin D. Like all my levels have always been good. But I'm really just taking it just, you know, just in case I want to cover all my bases. So I take the prenatal vitamin. I've always done well with Smarty Pants. Like I always feel like they're pretty good. I just kind of like suck on them under my tongue, and that way, especially when I'm dealing with nausea, I can still take them. I take vitamin K, I take vitamin D, I take, methylfolate. I don't want to say the wrong one because there's like another version that's synthetic and not good. And then I take my normal, I still take my D-Hist, which we'll talk about allergies in a second. Still take my magnesium, which for all you IC sufferers out there, I was having a blah moment. I was taking my magnesium citrate because that's what I've always taken to help my bowel as well. Yeah, magnesium citrate is a mix of magnesium and what's the vitamin C? Yeah, vitamin C, whatever that is called. Citric acid, which there's some studies on citric acid not being good, like being derived from mold or something. But all that aside, I was irritating my bladder by taking stuff that would help me poop. So just a note on that, I take magnesium, hold on, what do I take now? This is totally off topic, but I just want to let you guys know because it was going right over my head. And now I'm like, wait a second. So yeah, I used to take magnesium citrate because it doesn't say on the back of the labels that that's what it's from, but if you like look it up and are smart about it, you're like, oh, it's from vitamin C. Magnesium glycinate, which it's not supposed to help as much with like pooping, but I'm like, you know what, I'll find another way to poop. Like I don't want to take that if it's irritating my bladder, because I'll do anything to get rid of that pain. So anyways, off topic. I also take my additional omegas on top of the prenatal that has omegas in it. That's about it. Oh, and I take my probiotics. I have been getting them in food form from like this dairy like dairy products from Nancy's yogurt, but I do best with Nancy's cream cheese, and just like a couple tablespoons of it has a lot of probiotics. And then I take my other histamine lowering probiotic. I take my diatomaceous earth, I take my Elay or my salt water, my Himalayan salt water. I take my Pharma-GABA and my melatonin as always for my sleep. Nothing's changed really. I still take everything I used to, as well as my thyroid medications, obviously, because we want to stay on top of that. I still use my essential oils. I try and steer away from the ones that are deemed unsafe for a developing baby. I could be wrong for not stressing out as much about that, but generally the ones I use anyways are considered safe, so I don't worry too much about that. And I take my Cromolyn for my histamine, which when I need it. But yeah, we'll talk about that next. So allergies, you know that I suffer with a lot of mast cell related allergies and inflammation, and I would do my urine injections optimally twice a week would be the best for me to help keep my symptoms at bay. And then when I got married and we had to budget and stuff like that, once a week is what I could do. And then my Cromolyn at every meal. Since being pregnant, it wasn't as obvious at the beginning. I don't want to jinx myself, but I have been able to tolerate some foods without the histamine symptoms better than I ever have before in my life. When I go out to eat, I don't have to be as careful. I still eat paleo, keto, whatever, but like if there's something on a plate that maybe is cooked longer, for example, we went to the restaurant that my husband and I work at, and they served us these braised pork cheeks. They were amazing. Come to find out, they had been cooked a week ago, which is like a histamine nightmare. And I didn't have, besides some little bloating, which I have anyways, didn't have any severe like allergic reactions, didn't have any histamine hangover. Sometimes I can tell if I'm having a reaction, but I only get it in the form of like a frontal headache. I don't get the swelling in my hands, I don't get the hot flashes, I don't get the throat closing, anaphylaxis. I don't get any of that, which is kind of crazy. And then I've just been able to handle things more like vinegar and different things better than I normally would. I still am careful. I still try to avoid histamine at all costs because I don't want that inflammation. But I definitely think my body's handling things better and breaking things down better. I would also like to say, just in regards to food, like ever since being pregnant, I used to intermittent fast, like I said earlier in this video, eating twice a day. I could eat like 4 times a day easily now, not necessarily because I have a humongous appetite. It's just that like after 3 or 4 hours, like I've burned through my food, like I've truly burned through it. And someone that's dealt with hypothyroid, I've always felt like my metabolism has been sluggish and like I don't burn through my food very quickly, and like I can eat and be satisfied and full and energized for hours. Now, not so much. If I get hungry and I can't eat within a half an hour or so of being starving, you don't want to be around me. Just saying, it's bad. Like I become the definition of hangry, and you don't want to be around me. It's bad. Like it'll happen at work and I'm just like, all right, gotta eat, baby's gotta eat. I'm like, what can I eat? Like I have to eat something right now. And of course that doesn't always happen and I have to plug through, but I turned into like a silent monster. Like you don't really want to be around me. But that's also another great thing that I figured out. So aside from feeling like I deal with histamine a little bit better, which I'm assuming is because my immune system has kind of like down-regulated a little bit, I also like actually use my food because the baby's actually using my food, which I greatly appreciate. So those have been some great things that I've noticed dealing with Lyme and being pregnant. Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna try and wrap this video up because I don't want to just like keep rambling and boring you guys. But overall, I would say the past 3 so months, they've been good, especially someone with Lyme. I know people can get concerned about like how your body is going to handle pregnancy. I take it one day at a time. I have to take it one day at a time. Some days I just feel like this is going to be the end of me, but not in a bad way. It's just I get exhausted. I mean, anyone does. Anyone would, doing, you know, working and school and all that stuff. So, but overall it's been good. I haven't had any negative issues, only good issues. Baby's healthy from what we can tell. You know, I just keep praying every day that it stays that way, and that when he or she is here on this earth, they would be as healthy as well. But yeah, nothing negative that the doctors can tell. Balance is key. Taking care of myself is key. I mean, that's always been key, but like even more so now. I have to, like, because I'm taking care of 2 people, not just one. So I really try and manage my stress, even though it's been very stressful the past few months, just with all the transition and different things going on in life. But still do my headspace. I do the pregnancy sessions. I'm like my second time through all of them or whatever. That's huge. I like to have my nighttime rituals, which is easier now because sadly my husband works like super late, so I kind of try and take that time and distract myself with my rituals and taking care of myself. But I will definitely be talking more in the future about like what I was doing before I got pregnant, what I do now, kind of what my life looks like and how I'm handling things, I guess you could say. But I just kind of wanted to give you guys a recap, kind of get you guys in the loop. I am still here. I am still alive. I hope I'll be more active. I kind of got out of the habit of it just because I had to like be in hiding with this news. But now that you guys know, I should get back into the habit of sharing things and being more active on my blog. But yeah, if you have any questions, because I know there are people out there that are either like looking to get pregnant or have or can or don't want to or just are curious. It's not every day that someone that's been through as much with an illness and with Lyme specifically is able to get pregnant. So I definitely want to like shed as much light on it as I possibly can and answer any questions that I can. So yeah, of course, direct message me on Instagram or comment below. I hope to be back soon. See you guys.